I'm here with Alex Burns from Politico.com. Alex, you are wearing a suit today, which can only mean that it's a big, giant election day.
That is the customary attire here at Politico on a big Tuesday like this one.
And it is, the great thing for political junkies is it's May here, and we have what can be a really telling election today. And let's go through kind of race by race, because I think, the common wisdom here is that there's a little bit of a lesson to be learned in all the races today. Let's start with the most high-profile race. Pennsylvania Senate, the Democratic primary. Arlen Specter, the new Democratic senator from Pennsylvania, old senator, new Democrat, against Joe Sestak. What can we learn from this race?
Well, this is a situation where Arlen Specter has received, since he switched parties last April, he has received every bit of help from the White House, from national Democrats, from the vice president, that any candidate running for office could hope for. If he can't pull this thing out tonight, and a lot of Democrats here in Washington think that he can't, against even someone like Congressman Sestak, who's got a great profile, plenty of money, that really does say something about what an anti-incumbent year this is, and just how problematic it is for someone like Specter to be perceived as kind of a political opportunist in this kind of environment.
And if the incumbent, backed by President Obama, can't win in a Democratic primary, that's bad news for incumbents and the White House.
Sure. Now, Democrats will say, look, Joe Sestak is actually a great candidate for the fall. He's the highest-ranking military veteran to serve in Congress, can clearly raise money. He's run a good campaign against Specter. None of that changes the fact that this is not the guy the White House wanted.
Okay, now Pennsylvania, we have another really terrific race, the special election to fill the seat held by John Murtha. Now, this is a race between a Republican and a Democrat. What will we learn from this race?
Well, this is probably the one election today that is really genuinely too close to call at this point. Nobody on either side of the aisle wants to go out on a limb and make a bet on this one. The Democrat is Mark Critz, a former staffer from Murtha. The Republican is Tim Burns, political newcomer, former CEO. And what you have in this district is an electorate that has typically voted Democrat. Murtha would win there comfortably year after year. The Democrats have a big registration edge, but it's not the kind of district where this president and this Congress have been particularly popular at any point. It's the only district that between 2004 and 2008 switched from supporting John Kerry to supporting John McCain. So this is actually a pretty strong test case for the Republicans' ability to pick up those marginal Democratic seats this fall.
All right, let's look now at Kentucky. Tea Party Valhalla. What's going on in Kentucky right now?
Well, as you just mentioned, the Tea Party's national darling at this point, Ron Paul's son, Rand Paul, he's an ophthalmologist from Bowling Green, does look like he's going to win a fairly comfortable win tonight over Secretary of State Trey Grayson, who's the Republican establishment's favored candidate for Senate.
And then, of course, going into the fall, the question will be, how can a Tea Party candidate do in a general election? But we won't know that until November. So let's move on to the last of the big primaries today, and that's in Arkansas. Senator Blanche Lincoln really taking it from both sides in this race.
Well, this is the clearest example of a race today where you have an incumbent just getting attacked witheringly from the left. Her challenger is Bill Halter, the incumbent lieutenant governor. He's a former Clinton administration official who has the backing of the SEIU, MoveOn.org, all kinds of national liberal organizations. He spent an enormous amount of money on this race. Lincoln does look like she is going to come in first place tonight, but the question is whether Halter can hold her under 50% of the vote and force her into a runoff, which would be a real embarrassment for an incumbent.
All right, now, special bonus question on this super primary Tuesday. For all the candidates who are up for election today, all the ones who may win or lose, even the losers, they're not having as bad of a day as another candidate in another state with no race today. Let's talk about that. Who's having the worst day of any politician on the planet today?
Well, that's got to be either the Attorney General of Connecticut or Richard Blumenthal, who the New York Times just published a devastating story about him, revealing that he never actually served in combat in the Vietnam War, even though he's suggested that repeatedly. There's actually another contender for this honor at this point. Just breaking recently, Congressman Mark Souder of Indiana is resigning after a sex scandal with a former aide. So take your pick between those two guys. I think Arlen Specter didn't expect to be upstaged this afternoon, but it's looking like he might be.
All right, Alex, thanks so much. Have a great day.
Thank you.